So there are some seats here. If you feel like a front row, then go for the front row. There's obviously chairs at the back, so take a seat. If you want to be at the back in the dark, then set your space up. Welcome, come in. It's a small class tonight. Seats at the front. There's quite a few actually. You can, we're quite a small class relatively tonight, so do feel free to, I will get you to sort of move in a minute. There's some lovely space at the back in that central section that you can move into. Okay. Would someone kindly get that door, please? Thank you. And a really warm welcome if you're joining us online. Okay, so my name is Aria Vandana and I'm teaching you this evening. This is the regulars class, which I guess means that you have an understanding of the practice, the mindfulness of breathing. You might have practiced it a few times, or quite a lot of times. And so you don't need a lot of instruction. But we'll first start by saluting the three jewels. And we do this in call and response. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Namah.
Namo Namah.
Om.
Om.
Ah. Hum. So we're going to do start, as many of you probably know, as a body scan. So setting yourself up, you'll want to be in semi-supine, I imagine. So making sure you've got space. Even if you're on a chair and you feel like being semi-supine for this bit, it's quite nice to just let go, relax. There's plenty of space. Making sure that your feet aren't on someone's shoulders. I guess you'll know if they are. And closing the eyes if you haven't already. So allowing the body to rest in this position. And coming into contact first of all with our breathing. Having a sense of our breathing anchoring us. And turning awareness now to the breath as it expresses itself in the front of the body, paying particular attention to the lower belly. And now the breath as it expresses itself in the back of the body. So if we're lying down, we'll have a sense of our breath in the back of the body and the contact with the mat. So there'll be a sense of the body expanding and subsiding. And the sides of the body. And now the whole surface of the body, letting the body be breathed. And resting in this awareness, this foundation. Now turning our attention, this foundation, to the soles of the feet. And we're just tuning in to sensations, and it doesn't matter if they're big sensations or strong sensations, or they're subtle, they're changing. And we're just seeing if we can resting the soles of the feet. Now moving up from the soles of the feet to all of the feet, the toes, top of the foot, the ankle, and noticing with kindness, curiosity, what arises and what forms. Now moving up to the whole of the legs. So that's the calf muscles, the knees and the thighs. Notice if there is gripping or a sense of holding on. And we can use the breath in our imagination to breathe into any tightness, any sense of contraction, particularly in the thighs, the inner thighs, where there might be a tendency to grip. Breathing with a warm, kindly breath into these places and easing out the muscles. Now moving up to the sitting bones, pelvis, hips. Having a sense of space in this part of the body, openness. Now moving up the back, the whole of the back. So we were on a mat, coming into contact with the ground. And we can see if we can melt the back into the cushion. A sense of letting go. And now the shoulders. And we can use a warm and kindly breath to sweep across the shoulders from left to right, right to left, easing out any tension. Now, back of the head, the neck, having a sense of space around the neck and the back of the head. If we're on a mat, feel the weight of the head on a cushion. If we're sitting on a chair, we can come into contact with space. Now moving around the face, softening the face, the brow, allowing the eyes to fall into the eye sockets. Really relaxing the forehead. The jaw, the lips, tongue, teeth. Now down the arms, allowing the arms to be heavy, the hands to be soft, like be feeling quite a lot of warmth in the hands, even a sense of perhaps tingling. Really get a sense of the weight of the hands and the air around the hands. Just be with our breathing bodies, allowing the body to be breathed, resting in this space, using the breath as an anchor and tuning into all the sensations of breathing, of the body expanding and subsiding with each in-breath and out-breath. Turning attention now to the heart. How is the heart in this moment? Moment, we're going to bring this meditation to a close. Just notice how the mind is now. If the body starts to race or the mind turns towards finishing, just bring the body back to this moment. The mind to the breath. And when I ring the bell, I'm going to invite you to roll over to face the shrine. So notice this transition, how the body is. Keep the connection with the breath, the flow of the breath, the flow of awareness. And if you haven't already, and it's comfortable for you to do so, just open your eyes and just look at the shrine and the light. And see if you can, might be a view that's very familiar to you, but see if you can approach this with fresh eyes. Notice in your experience right now if there is a subtle craving, or daydreaming, fantasizing, or perhaps there's a very subtle or not so subtle pushing away of experience, of wanting to perhaps be still in that body scan. Just notice how the mind is in this moment with kindness. When I ring the bell again, we're going to do another transition. We're going to get into meditation posture for the mindfulness of breathing. But we're going to do this in a very slow and a way that keeps the connection of the breath, keeps the flow of the breath, the connection with the body. So there's a few moments to do this, there's no rush. So setting ourselves up for the mindfulness of breathing. And we're keeping the connection going, we're keeping the connection of dwelling in awareness in the body, keeping the connection, the flow of the breath, the easy flow of the breath. And I'm going to invite you in this mindfulness of breathing to just pay attention with kindness, no harsh judgment, with kindness to either a sense of, moving forwards, craving, wanting things to be different, daydreaming, fantasizing, we call this a hindrance of sense desire. Just notice if there is craving rising and falling in your experience. And then also just notice when we're trying to push away our experience. And this could be resistance or ill will as another hindrance. And it's not that we're doing anything wrong. This is the mind, this is how we are. So what we're looking at is a gentle inquiry and investigation. So just noticing a quality of craving or a quality of pushing away, or an absence of craving and an absence of pushing away. The mindfulness of breathing. Now letting go of any efforts in this fourth stage, and just we'll spend a few moments just with the body breathing and allowing the seeds of the practice to be absorbed into our being. The breathing body. Another transition, so taking time to come out of the meditation posture. And just before we sort of enter into the tea realm, the realm of chat, just sort of notice how your body was through those two practices, and we'll have a chat after the break about the two hindrances, we call them hindrances, sort of coverings, obscurations of aversion and ill will or craving. So just have a think about how that was in your body, if either of those two coverings was present. And enjoy your tea, and then we'll recall that when we come back. Okay, I'll have a tea break now. We'll keep this as a quiet space, and we'll keep that next door as a quiet space, so if you want to just stay on in here and rest and be quiet, that's absolutely fine. Welcome back. People online as well. Great. Welcome back. Hello, those of you online. Okay. Yeah, and just sit in a relaxed way. Is this us? Okay. So, yeah, I'm curious as to what, well, a couple of things. Your experience of that last meditation, mindfulness of breathing. We spent some time with the flow of the breath and the thread of that into the mindfulness of breathing from the body scan. And then I sort of dropped in this suggestion, this invitation to just notice where in our experiences we went through that meditation there was a sense of craving, fantasy, daydreaming, and or aversion, resistance, ill will. How was that? Or also the absence of it as well. What was your experience? I always find this so funny. Everyone's been busy chatting 10 to a whatever the phrase is, and then there's this silence. What? Yeah. Hello.
Right. I found I hadn't really sort of articulated it in the way of craving, but until today. But the first stage, I put in these terms. I really felt like my brain was craving stimulation a lot, which was making me distracted. And then it wasn't until I named it as craving that I then sort of objectified it in that way, that I then felt that it didn't go away, but it became more, it became quieter. That was a nice experience.
That's really, thanks for sharing that. So you experienced this sort of craving or this desire for something else, like stimulation? Or
Yeah, just you know, my brain wanting to use the time to think about lots of different things, which I think I'd never really thought of that as craving, but actually in a way it kind of is. So, and then naming it as craving helped me overcome it in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what, without sort of saying what antidotes we've got, what actually happens. So you experience this sort of then, so it seemed to sort of dovetail into a bit of anxiety or restlessness, was it?
Yeah, anxiety. It was like, oh, now's a good time to think about that thing you've been thought about for a long time.
Yes.
Like, let's turn this into utility.
Right.
Let's make something of this moment.
Make it useful.
Exactly. I suppose you could again think that anxiety, I suppose.
Well, it's interesting. Some of these sort of coverings or hindrances can sort of dovetail into, you know, they're not sort of separate, so there might be some restlessness. Was there restlessness in the body? When you named it, then what happened in the body?
Actually, there was an image that came into my head as I was, you know, it was like swimming and the water that I was swimming in got a lot calmer.
And then your body settled, did it?
Yes, I suppose.
And when you left the meditation, what was the overall sort of feeling, or some, you know, somatic feeling?
Not wildly different to how it usually is, I'm afraid. But it was more in the moment, but it was particularly nice experience.
That's interesting then, isn't it? Thanks for sharing that. Who else? So that was sort of on the craving side. Yeah.
I got tendency to overthink. So I was catching myself either thinking about the past or future, and then not being in the present. So to help myself, I was coming back to breath and then labeling, this is the past, this is the future, this is the story, this doesn't make sense, and then just going back to my breath, and that helped.
Fantastic. And when you say so what was going on when you were sort of thinking about, you know, past and present, and you were labelling it, do you have a sense of what was going on in your body?
Yeah, so a lot of the thoughts were anxious thoughts, and I noticed straight away that my body stands. When I noticed and label, my body relaxed.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? So there is
a lot of anxiety as well, but also overthinking.
Right, okay. And sort of just to check in, we need to bring loads of kindness to this, because everybody has these hindrances. And we're also, so we have the hindrances as human beings, and we also, I think, we have a tendency to be quite critical. Even the word hindrance is quite a tricky word. I think covering, talking about this yesterday in our Mitra study group, the Surya Gupta was saying the word covering, because we know that it's covering some an experience that is sort of pure without these sort of being kind of covered up with anxiety. It's really important that we bring in a lot of kindness to our experience. Yeah. Thank you. And you said that when you just went back to the breath.
Yeah. It was like a relief.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
I found I was riddled with both. Recently I've been trying to adopt this into my meditation, this idea of not me, not mine. I think Mitra was talking about it a little while ago. And when I do that, it really does sort of deepen the level of awareness. It really makes you more. I think the fact alone that how aware I was of all these different, you know, contending cravings and aversions, you know. And then as soon as I dropped that into my meditation, especially along with the breath, I also thought, there was a thing I thought, well, I'm breathing in life. And when I thought of that, something very, very deeply settling just happened. I just felt the awareness on a much deeper level. I just felt my nervous system just changed almost. It's just, it was really, really profound. It's hard to put into words sometimes, you know, when you have a moment that's hard to, but afterwards I noticed that it was one of those meditations where I didn't really want to get up and go. I wanted to just sit here forever. But yeah, no, I was also like older. I was feeling quite anxious about things. And there's a few feelings of sadness and things about some things in my life. But yeah, it was. I think just that, you know, that awareness that you drop this me, mine. This is just life. We all have this life going through us. It just does something to your meditation and your consciousness. Yeah.
So you find that helpful because the you know, we sort of talk about sort of almost like the small self of the I can get out of the way basically and allow something else to kind of come in and settle.
Yeah, and you don't know what it is or where it comes from. You just feel it on a quite deep psychic sort of level. Yeah, no, it's it reminds me of once, you know, how I couldn't ever go back. Once I started meditating, I could never go back to how I used to, I don't know, process things, you know. Yeah, it was very profound.
And that meditation, when you say it was very profound, that happened in just before the break.
That meditation,
that's great, isn't it? It's really important, I think, to sort of, well, we know this as sort of regular meditators, but to establish a kind of sense of rest in the body. And that's why it's so good to come to a class, because we've had these days, whatever the day has brought, and even going through, travelling to get here through a city like London, you know, there's a lot of stuff like flying around that we're just absorbing. We're just in our groove, and so we arrive, and it's quite an ask to go into a kind of meditation and experience sort of states of absorption or calm. We've really got to work with what is happening, a kind of sense of busyness, and so the idea of just having the time to set up practice before we actually go into the meditation is really beneficial. And I think doing this in a collective is helpful because we're all within that kind of rest, or we're cultivating awareness, which, you know, is the Buddhist said, you know, these sort of states of ours, mind states, can be really contagious. So we know that when we're around people who are very angry, you know, we can feel that, right? We can feel that. So if we're practicing together and we're all cultivating a wish to be present, to be with the breath, then that is going to have an effect. Yeah. Anyone else want to share their experience of what that was like, or if there are any questions? Or anyone found that last meditation wasn't working, or what was going on? Hello. Hi.
I was very tired.
Yeah.
Deeply tired, and I meditated for a long time. And I found myself, you know, you nod, and then it wakes you back up.
Yeah.
And whenever when I was deeply in like almost a dream state of really intense motions, relating to a repetitive script. And then it was just great to be in the space and come back to the presence of the situation. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's so you found through the meditation, you found that you were kind of in a liminal space, or you
Yes.
sort of sleepy space.
Yeah.
But you were able, because of being in this room or
Right.
being with people, you didn't just
No, I didn't. I didn't lie down on the floor like I wanted to and go to sleep.
yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else who wants to? Yes. Hello.
I felt like at the beginning my mind was quite saturated with craving for to be somewhere else, and that was what a lot of my thoughts were about, being somewhere sunny or just not being in the UK. And I couldn't help but be thinking about things which would get me somewhere else. And I think doing the meditation made me really realise how many of my thoughts were actually stuck in that sort of way. And the more I noticed it, the more there was this feeling of gratuity, of just being in this present moment. And it's something that I always get when I come to these classes, actually, is more a sense of not really needing what it is that my mind was saying that I was craving. So yeah, I felt like at the end it was just this very, very peaceful feeling of sort of settled.
Thanks for sharing that. So you were experiencing craving, and it was really wanting to be somewhere else, somewhere with sunshine.
Yeah.
And then through that, there was a sense of you just let that be. Let that be, and then your experience. Then something else could come through, which was akin to kind of gratitude or a sense of, well, I am here now.
Yeah. And similarly, like you were saying, sorry, I don't know, I've never actually pinpointed it as craving. It was really interesting when you used that word, because I was like, never actually thought of it like that.
Yeah.
And so it really allowed me to kind of capture those thoughts for what it really was.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so we have these coverings. This is something that we work with. And so my invitation is, it's interesting, isn't it? We've come up with this. One of the ideas is to use this sort of practice of mindfulness to our experience. So what we're doing is we're not just allowing craving or aversion or restlessness or sloth and torpor or doubt. We're not allowing one of these coverings to just sort of have its way with us and just What we're doing is we're using a kind of a very kind of practice of just having an awareness of what it is. And I guess the trick is to not go into a story. That's why kindness is so important, this sort of non-judgmental kind of awareness. So that when we've spotted something in our experience that is craving or aversion, we can name it. And then if we find out what's happening with the body, because oftentimes it is connected, we can connect it to a sort of tightening, and we just allow ourselves to breathe into that part, again with a lot of kindness. Things loosen and do just dissipate, as I think the experience here was sort of showing. If we turn towards and just name, and then breathe into where it is in the body, we can loosen. You don't need to do a huge amount, because we're meditating. We don't need to solve anything or fix anything. And it's So I really would encourage us to try this in the meditation that we're going to do, to bring that kindly awareness to it, and see what unfolds within that. It's often the sort of, see what unfolds within that. A couple of things. Craving can have a quality of, we start to do that. Strangely, we start to lean forward because we want something in our experience. Aversion tends to be a kind of contraction. We start hardening the body. So we can be aware of that. We start to lean forward, or we'll all be slightly different, but there is that sort of sense of leaning forward and forwardness. And then aversion, it's around sort of hardening and tightening. So we can just be aware of that, and again bring kindness to our experience. Use the breath to soften into it. And the other thing that I just want to say before we meditate is, I've been having some interesting conversations about mindfulness of breathing, and people sort of saying, "Oh, I don't count. I will just go straight into the breath." What I would suggest is do the 4 stages. So you do the counting on the in-breath, the counting on the out-breath, and then let the counting go. And just see if you can stay just with the practice as it is taught here. Because things come up from that. Yeah? Any questions? Are we all ready to explore the breath?
What's an example of an aversion? We talked so much about craving, I've slightly forgotten what the aversion is.
An aversion is sort of ill will. It's wanting something different from what we've got. So it might be, what I can tell you right now, I have a pain in my shoulder. I don't want it there. So my body's sort of hardening, and I'm trying to sort of blank it out and do all sorts of things with it. So there's sort of aversion in my experience.
And how do you know if you're craving non-pain versus having aversion to pain?
Say that again.
How do you know that you're not craving non-pain versus having aversion to pain itself?
Well, I can have both of those experiences, depending on my kind of tendency.
Yeah.
So I can notice, I'm resisting the pain, so I'm shutting out. My body is tightening. I'd probably focus on that.
Yeah.
The craving for something different, I probably also have that, but I just focus on the pain and softening into the pain with breath and kindness.
Yeah.
So you're sort of playing around with it a little bit.
Okay.
But the idea is that you are sort of, you're naming it and then bringing some kindness to it. Not sort of blobbing out and saying, "Oh, I've got this thing," and let's do it kind of thing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
It is. Thank you.
Great. Let's go. Let's set ourselves up. So settling into this familiar posture now, and feeling contact points of the body against the mat, cushions, chair. Noticing how, we can start by noticing how our heart is. Noticing how our mind is. capacity to do its job. And if we can, finding the breath and resting in the breath. A solid foundation, stable foundation. Full of change, impermanence. And being curious in this meditation about craving, desire, a sense experience, and aversion, ill will, resistance, or the absence of craving and the absence of aversion, rising and falling, a flow of experience with each in-breath and out-breath. Mindfulness of breathing. letting go of any effort. And just sitting to absorb the seeds of the practice. The body breathing, just as it is. So that's the end of the evening. And just to say, if you would help clear the mats and cushions up, and again keeping the thread of the breath and the body. Don't lose that sense just because we've stopped practicing. And I guess another thread is a thread of kind of generosity. So we keep the doors open at London Buddhist Centre for everybody, so that anyone can come in and learn the practices and meditate. So if you are in a position to give financially, we'd really appreciate it. These times are, a bit challenging. So there'll be an opportunity to do that with bowls. And also recognising a sort of thread of generosity that when you come here to meditate, that is an act of generosity for yourself. And what Maitri Bandhu talked about, transforming self and others. So we impact others through practice. So you coming here is an act of generosity. So go well.
Thank you.